The desert air is dry and endless. A train slows through the dust, its steel wheels groaning under the weight of a war that now feels very far away. Behind the bars of the cars, men in tattered khaki uniforms press their faces to the slats, expecting to see the wreckage of another battlefield. Instead, they see sunlight, sharp, gold, and clean. They are Italian soldiers captured in North Africa, carried across the ocean they once dreamed of seeing. The war has brought them here, to the heart of the United States. To them, it feels like exile to another planet. When the doors open, the air smells of hay, pine, and diesel. American guards, young and sunburned, stand with rifles slung loose across their shoulders. The prisoners step down one by one. Some blink as if they've just stepped into a film, the America of postcards, of open skies and farms that stretch farther than memory. The camps are not what they expect. Rows of wooden barracks sit behind a fence that looks more symbolic than menacing. Beyond it, fields shimmer with wheat. The guards do not shout. Some even smile. One Italian, a sergeant from Naples, later writes in a letter, "I thought they would hate us. Instead, they asked if we were hungry." The men are given soap, bedding, and food that smells unfamiliar. Strong coffee, white bread, and something sweet called peanut butter. It sticks to their tongues, and they laugh, trying to swallow it. That night, as they lie on clean sheets, many cannot sleep. The silence is unsettling. No bombs, no sirens, only the hum of crickets. In the morning, the routine begins. Roll call, work details. The Americans drive them in trucks to nearby farms. The war has taken most of the young men, and the land needs hands. The Italians pick cotton, harvest fruit, mend fences. They sweat under the American sun, and for the first time in years, their work grows something instead of destroying it. At first, they hum the songs of home softly, under their breath. Then one day, a guard asks them to sing louder. And so they do. Old Neapolitan songs that drift across the fields, light as the dust they raise. Farmers pause in their chores to listen. Some tap their feet. In the evenings, they return to camp tired but peaceful. Dinner is simple: stew, bread, sometimes slices of watermelon from the farms. One man sketches the sunset on the back of a sack. Another writes his mother a letter he knows will never reach Italy. Bit by bit, the wire between prisoner and guard grows thinner, not in steel, but in understanding. There is a moment, small and unremarkable on the surface, that many remember. It happens when a local farmer's wife sends pies to the camp for Thanksgiving. Pumpkin pies, warm and spiced. The Italians do not know what holiday it is, but they eat and laugh and tell each other that maybe this America is not the enemy after all. One guard, a college student from Kansas, notes in his diary, "They work hard. They joke like we do. Sometimes I forget they were supposed to be fighting us." At night, under the desert stars, the Italians talk quietly about the sea, about home, about the strange kindness of this place. They wonder if the war will ever find them here again, or if this quiet corner of America has somehow slipped out of time. Tomorrow they will rise and work again. The wire will still stand. But already something invisible has begun to give way, the first fracture in the idea of who is enemy and who is human. The rhythm of captivity settles like a slow, steady breath. Days stretch long and bright across the fields, filled with labor and small rituals that make the hours bearable. The Italians harvest, build, mend, and plant. Their hands grow calloused, but their hearts begin to soften toward this strange new world. In the mornings, the trucks rumble out of camp, wooden benches lined with men who joke and sing in the back. The air smells of dust and diesel, mingled with the faint sweetness of ripe corn. They pass barns painted red, wide rivers like moving glass, and children waving from porches. At first, they look away, unsure whether to wave back. Then, one day, a man named Enzo lifts his hand and waves. The children cheer. The others laugh and join him. The silence between the two worlds begins to fade. At the farms, Americans greet them with cautious curiosity. The farmers' wives bring water jugs and shade their eyes with calloused hands. The Italians, in their patched uniforms, smile shyly. They speak little English, but smiles need no translation. "Work," one of the guards says, pointing to a field of cotton. The men nod and begin. By noon, shirts cling with sweat. They share jokes in Italian, sometimes teasing the guards. "Too hot," one groans theatrically. "America hotter than Africa." The guards grin and shake their heads. At lunch, they sit beneath a tree, eating sandwiches and canned fruit. One of the farmers brings a jug of lemonade, its surface beaded with cold. He passes it to a prisoner first. The man hesitates, then drinks. The moment is quiet, simple, but in its small grace, the world shifts a little closer to peace. Evenings are slow, golden hours behind the wire. The men write letters they cannot send or carve wooden figures from peach pits. Some build tiny altars of stone, others trade bits of bread for pencils or tobacco. They form soccer teams, arguing passionately over rules no one entirely remembers. On Sunday afternoons, guards and prisoners play together. The ball arcs through the air, laughter rises, and for an hour the fence disappears. There are stories the guards whisper later of how a few POWs repaired radios or built guitars out of scrap wood and wire, of how one group turned old tin cans into flower pots, growing tomatoes beside the barracks. "They said the plants reminded them of home," recalls one camp officer. "We let them keep them by the fence." Then come the first moments of contact beyond the wire. A local priest petitions the army to let the Italians attend Mass in town. Permission is granted. Under escort, they file into a small white church, heads bowed, uniforms pressed. The congregation stares, unsure whether to stand or kneel. Then an old woman begins to sing a hymn, her voice trembling. Others join. The Italians murmur the same tune in their own tongue. Two languages fill the same air, rising together like smoke. After Mass, children linger near the steps. "Are they bad men?" one whispers. The priest shakes his head. "No, they're just far from home." The weeks blend into seasons. Winter comes soft and blue. Snow gathers on the fences. The men huddle by the stoves, trading stories of Naples and Palermo, of fishing boats and market squares. They carve tiny figures of saints from soap and paint them with ash and coffee. A few guards join, learning Italian phrases. "Pain," one repeats. "Bread." The prisoner laughs. "Yes, bread." There are dances in the nearby town. The guards go and sometimes talk about the Italians to local girls. They're polite, hardworking, not like the news says soon. Invitations arrive at the camp for Christmas carols. The officers hesitate, then agree under strict supervision. That night, candles flicker in the town square. The air smells of pine and frost. The Italians sing softly, "Tu scendi dalle stelle." Americans listen in silence. When the last note fades, applause fills the cold night. One prisoner wipes his eyes. A guard pretends not to notice. Inside the camp, life continues with its quiet rhythm. Yet, something has changed. The men who came as soldiers now live as workers, craftsmen, singers, dreamers. The wire still stands, but it no longer defines them. Beyond the fence, America hums with life. Radios, laughter, the distant sound of a train. For many Italians, that sound will become the heartbeat of memory, the rhythm of a country they never expected to love. Spring returns with a slow unfolding of color. The air softens, the soil breathes, and the world outside the wire begins to bloom. For the Italian prisoners, the change feels almost spiritual, a reminder that life, even in confinement, insists on renewal. In one camp in Texas, A prisoner named Carlo begins carving small wooden birds. He places them on the windowsills of the barracks. One morning, a guard's daughter, no more than 10, leaves a wildflower beside one of them. A silent exchange begins. Flowers for birds, kindness for kindness. The guards notice but do not intervene. They, too, have grown weary of war. As the months pass, more gestures cross the invisible boundary between captor and captive. Farmers invite work crews to share lemonade on porches. Local priests open their doors for Sunday services. Women from town send bread, sometimes pies, wrapped in brown paper and tied with string. The Italians write thank-you notes in careful English. And then, inevitably, affection begins to grow in quiet corners of this unlikely peace. One prisoner, Angelo, helps repair a fence on a farm where a young woman, Ruth, lives with her family. She brings them water, curious about these polite, soft-spoken men who smile easily despite the dust on their faces. At first, their exchanges are brief. Grazie, thank you. Then longer. Small phrases bridge the gap. Beautiful day. Too hot. You like music? They share laughter over his broken English and her awkward attempts at Italian. The guards pretend not to see. Everyone knows the war will end someday. Why not let a little light in before it does? At night, Angelo writes in his notebook, I came here as an enemy. I have never felt less like one. Others feel it too. Bonds form not only between men and women, but among the guards themselves. A sergeant from Kansas teaches his prisoners to play baseball. In return, they teach him to make espresso using an old tin can and a piece of wire mesh. Soon, the scent of burnt coffee drifts through the camp each morning. Bitter, familiar, strangely comforting. The war continues far away, a noise carried only by newspapers and rumor. In the camp, the men talk less about Mussolini and more about harvests, music, and home. They begin to question what home even means now. Is it the village left behind, or the quiet rhythm of this new life where no one shoots and no one runs? One evening, the prisoners are invited to help paint the local schoolhouse. Children watch from the steps as they work. One boy, curious, asks in a high voice, "Were you really soldiers?" An older prisoner smiles. "Yes," he says softly, "but not anymore." The painting is done by sunset. The men stand back admiring the bright white walls, the neat red trim. The teacher thanks them, tears in her eyes. One guard snaps a photograph, Italians and Americans together, brushes still in hand. No one there can know how rare that image will one day seem. Later that night, a storm sweeps across the plains. The prisoners stand by the windows, watching lightning dance across the horizon. Rain batters the roofs, thunder shakes the earth. Inside the barracks, someone begins to sing. It's a song from Naples, soft, wistful, rising above the wind. The guards listen from outside, their faces lit by flashes of light. For a moment, the storm, the war, the fences, all dissolve into a single, fragile silence. By now, word of these friendships reaches the newspapers. Some Americans call it weakness, others call it grace. "We are teaching them democracy," one colonel insists to reporters. But inside the camp, no one talks of politics. They talk of people, of kindness, of longing, of the strange comfort that comes when humanity triumphs, even for a heartbeat over history. When news finally comes that Italy has surrendered, the camp falls into a hush. Some cheer, others weep quietly. The guards don't quite know how to act. That night, the officers allow a small celebration. Someone finds an accordion, another brings fruit from the farm. The prisoners sing again, not as enemies, not as soldiers, but simply as men who have survived long enough to hope. Outside, the fence gleams wet in the moonlight. It still divides the world, but for the first time, it feels temporary. The war's ending does not arrive with fanfare. It comes in fragments, a headline, A rumor, a hesitant smile from a guard who no longer keeps his rifle so close. Across the camps, word spreads like a quiet wind. Mussolini is gone. Germany has fallen. The guns have stopped. For the Italian prisoners, the news lands with a strange stillness, some cheer. Others stare into the distance, uncertain what freedom now means. Many have been here for years, long enough for the rhythm of captivity to feel like life itself. The war has changed them, reshaped them, and now the world outside is no longer the one they left behind. Orders come down slowly. One by one, the camps prepare for repatriation. The men will be sent home. The fences will come down. But something unexpected begins to happen. Not all of them want to leave. In letters and petitions, dozens of POWs ask to stay in America, at least a little longer. Some wish to marry women they met while working on farms. Others simply cannot imagine returning to the ruins of their villages. They have built lives here, fragile but real. One guard records in his journal, "When they arrived, they were enemies. Now they are friends asking not to go home across the fields. Farewells begin." Civilians come to the camps carrying gifts, bread, photographs, small carvings made by the prisoners. Tears are shared easily. A farmer embraces a man who once harvested his wheat. "You send us your address," he says, pressing a hand to his shoulder. "We'll write." In the final weeks before departure, the prisoners are restless. They walk the perimeters at dusk, memorizing the horizon. They sit on the steps of their barracks, talking long into the night about what lies ahead. Home feels like a word that has lost its shape. Some of them do go back. They find their towns changed, their families scattered, the old life gone. Yet even there, they speak of America, of the calm fields, the kindness of strangers, the strange sweetness of freedom found behind fences. Others return years later, not as soldiers, but as immigrants. They bring wives, children, and the hope of beginning again where they once were prisoners. In one small town in Texas, an Italian man named Enzo opens a bakery. Locals remember him from the war. He bakes bread the way his mother taught him, the scent spilling into the streets each morning. When asked how he ended up here, he smiles. "I was captured," he says, "and then I stayed." Photographs survive. Men in faded uniforms standing beside American farmers, arms slung around each other's shoulders. Their smiles are easy, their eyes clear. The war behind them, the future still unwritten. Today, a few of the old camps remain. Weathered fences, half-buried foundations, chapels made from concrete and faith. Tourists rarely stop. The wind moves through the grass, whispering what memory still remembers. If you stand quietly, you can almost hear them. The echo of laughter across the fields, the clatter of tools, the soft strains of an Italian song carried by the breeze. They came as prisoners, defined by flags and orders. They left as men who had seen the enemy's heart and found it not so different from their own. In that unlikely corner of wartime America, compassion did something extraordinary. It defeated the very purpose of war. And long after the fences rusted away, what remained was something freer than freedom itself, the quiet, enduring truth that even in the darkest of times humanity remembers how to love.